Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom, shalom. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Trumpet's Call. I'm AmarYaH. I pray that you are holding on to faith, Amunah, and holding on to hope, Tekuah, during these times. Thank you for joining me once again on the channel and for another session of our Turah Chunk. Now, our Turah Chunk is very similar to our Turah Tidbit, but just a little longer. And so we're going to be having an in-depth conversation today about wheat and tares. Now, we have talked about wheat and tares before, but this lesson we're going to be incorporating wheat and tares with the concept of silence from heaven. Okay, so let's get into it for today. For those of you who are paying attention, it is becoming increasingly obvious that the Most High Yahuwah is revealing the tares among us. He's revealing the wheat among us, and that there's a separating happening. Perhaps it's happening in your life right now. We're going to talk about those things in just a bit. But as we get started today, we're going to be focusing in and honing in on wheat and tares and the difference between wheat and tares. As you look at the image on the screen, you'll see on the left we have what is called tares or darnel, and this is called Lalium tementulum, and another word for that, of course, is tares or darnels. And then on the right, we see wheat, and we see the Latin name for this is Triticum cereale, or wheat. And they look similar. Right now, they don't look similar because you have one in a more ripened state than the other, but when they're not ripe, they look very similar to one another, and it's difficult to distinguish what is wheat and what is tare. And so it is in this world. As we have been growing up together, it has been difficult to determine what is wheat and who is tare. But as the time of the harvest draws nearer and nearer, it is becoming increasingly obvious who is tare and who is wheat. And we thank the Father for that distinguishing that He is doing. All praises to the Most High. We're going to begin today with an article about wheat and tares, particularly tares. So we're going to be learning a bit more about tares, and then we will incorporate the knowledge that we derive from this article into the lesson for today. And so we'll be reading this article entitled, Wheat's Evil Twin Has Been Intoxicating Humans for Centuries. It says, darnel is poisonous, but in small enough doses can give food a special kick, by Sarah Lasko. And it begins, for many centuries, perhaps as long as humans have cultivated cereal grains, wheat's evil twin has insinuated itself into our crops. In big enough doses, this grass, darnel, can kill a person, and farmers would have to take care to separate it out from their true harvest, unless they were planning to add darnel to beer or bread on purpose in order to get high. Now, right off the bat, we see that darnel or tares is poisonous. And if taken in high enough doses, it can kill a person and likely animals as well. And also, it's used to get high. So let's continue on as we see how these tares or these darnels are relevant for us today. Darnel occupies a gray area in human agricultural history. It's definitely not good for us. When people eat its seeds, they get dizzy, off balance, and nauseous. And its official name, L. temulentum, comes from the Latin word for drunk. Did you know that, brothers and sisters? Did you know that the Latin name for tares is Latin for drunk? This is really significant. As we look at this image on the screen of someone imbibing and in the process and well on her way to becoming drunk, we are reminded in 1 Thessalonians 5:3-8 the following. For when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them, as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. But you, brethren, are not in darkness, so that this day should overtake you as a thief. You are all sons of light and sons of the day. We are not of the night, nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep as others do, but let us watch and be sober. For those who sleep, sleep at night, and those who get drunk are drunk at night. But let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and as a helmet, the hope of salvation. So we are instructed in these scriptures to be sober and watchful. Those who are tares and those who partake of tares are drunk and are children of the night. And the Most High Yahuwah is revealing who is sober and who is drunk and who are children of the day and who are children of the night. Let's continue. Darnel is a mimic weed, neither entirely tame or quite wild, that looks and behaves so much like wheat that it can't live without human assistance. Darnel seeds are stowaways. The plant's survival strategy requires its seeds to be harvested along with those of domesticated grasses, stored and replanted the next season. I find it very interesting that darnels don't spring up by themselves. They need to be planted. These seeds have to be planted. And in the scripture we're going to be reading later, we see that an enemy planted darnel seeds or tare seeds along with the wheat. They had to be cultivated by human beings in order to exist. They had to be planted, okay? And so the tares that exist in the world, they didn't spring up on their own. They were planted. It goes on to say, oats and rye began their relationship with humanity in a similar way, but for whatever reason, they were developed into full-on food crops, while darnel stayed in the shadows. The interesting thing about darnel is that we've caught it in the act, says Howard Thomas, a professor of biology who for years worked with darnel in the lab. The mimic weed took advantage of humans without fully bending to our will. Interesting. So the concept of the tare or the darnel is that it depends on humans in order to function, in order to exist, but does not abide by what humans tell it to do or tell it to be. It sounds very much like how Hasatan operates in the life of human beings. He depends on the humans, and the demonic elements depend on humans to act out their wickedness, but they will not bend to the will of human beings. In 1 Kapha, Peter chapter 2, we read, Wherefore, laying aside all malice and all guile, and hypocrisies, and envies, and all evil speaking, as newborn babes desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby. If so be ye have tasted that Yahuwah is gracious. So where tares are a mimic, where they hide, they pretend, they are hypocrites. Those who are wheat, they are not hypocrites. They are open-faced before the Father, and they present themselves as being exactly what they are. They don't hold on to form or fashion, and they don't pretend to be what they're not. They are open before the Father and before men. Let's continue. Thomas and two humanities-focused colleagues have been investigating darnel's double life as a menace and a sought-after intoxicant. They found that darnel shows up time and again in key literary texts as a symbol of subversion. Where there is darnel, there is treachery and toxicity. Treachery meaning trickery and an attempt to deceive, and toxicity, that which is dangerous. Interesting. When we see darnel mentioned in text and in writings, that is how it is represented. It comes with evil intentions. As Hasatan and as the demons that try to influence humans come, they come with evil intentions to move us off of our square, to move us out of light and into darkness, to use the human being and the human body for its wickedness, to do its wicked deeds. and to feed off of the negativity that it tries to create and foment within the human body. These are the things that we're seeing when we look at the tares or the darnels. Continuing. Once you start looking for darnel, it's everywhere. Ovid called it eye blightening. One of the plant's effects is messing with a person's vision and speech. In the Bible, it appears in the Parable of the Tares, where an enemy sneaks into a farmer's field and sows weeds, darnel, among the good wheat. Darnel shows up in Shakespeare, in Henry VI, Part 1, and Henry V, and in King Lear, where Thomas first noticed it. So we see a key aspect of tares at work in the life of a believer or just present in the world is that it doesn't speak the way it should speak, and it doesn't see the way it should see. It is blind and deaf to Yahuwah's way. It is blind and deaf to Yahuwah's words, to his instructions, to his Torah. It is blind and deaf to those things that are in the light, but comfortable in the things that are of darkness. We're describing wheat and tares, but those who are wheat, they are light. They love the light. They can see in the light, and they speak what they hear the Father saying. So they're not deaf, they're not blind, they're not dumb. They are fully able to embrace what AmarYaH says unto them and to follow through by the power of Haruach, of the Spirit that is at work in them. On the screen, you see an image created by Heinrich Filmauer, and it is entitled The Enemy Sowing Darnel Seeds. Continuing. Lear, or King Lear, wears it in his crown of weeds, made up of the idle weeds that grow in our sustaining corn. The symptoms of the king's madness, Thomas noted, is similar to the symptoms of darnel poisoning. So in the story of King Lear, it appears as if he had been partaking of darnel and had become mad. He started wondering if Shakespeare had meant to insinuate that Lear had been eating the plants in his crown, and if madness was, in part, a self-inflicted drunkenness. Those who partake of the darnel that Hasatan plants in the world and plants in the garden of our hearts, they become drunken, they become self-willed, they become mad. Because they do that which is the antithesis of what the Most High Yahuwah expects for us, and then they expect to receive positive results. You cannot do wickedness and expect righteousness. You cannot walk in darkness and expect light. Those two things don't go together. And so we see King Lear here likely eating the weeds from his crown that were making him mad. Let's continue. It's impossible to say how often people use darnel purposefully for its mind-altering properties, and how often darnel snuck in unannounced and unwanted. In his book Bread of Dreams, the Italian scholar Piero Camporesi argued that European peasantry lived in a state of semi-permanent hallucination from bread adulterated with more malign grains, which they may have sought as an escape from daily life. Certainly, people seem to know what darnel did and how to use it. In other words, what they're saying is that people recognized that darnel gave escape from life by creating a drunkenness, by detaching people from their present circumstances and making them feel disconnected from the difficulties of life. And so they used it much in the same way people would use drugs and alcohol today. So they would allow these grains to enter into the wheat so that when they ate the bread, they became high, intoxicated, and dull of thinking and dull of hearing. For that is what tares and darnels do. They make you dull of hearing, dull of thinking, and dull of action with regard to doing as our Father says. Continuing. There are sporadic reports of it being out and out cultivated with the express purpose of energizing beer in particular, says Thomas. We had a correspondent on the Isle of Man tell us that it was quite openly cultivated there for this purpose. When darnel was grown for its intoxicating properties, though, it likely would have been somewhat analogous to cannabis today, planted, gathered, and processed under the cover of more acceptable crops, or kept secret. So we see here that we're being told that at some point in its history, and perhaps even now in its present form, that darnel was grown for the use of an intoxicant. Knowing what its properties were, it's been grown under the cover of being a legitimate crop or with legitimate crops. It's been grown for the purpose of adding to beer or creating beer from it to make your beer more jazzed or spiced or effective in bringing on intoxication. So what we've read so far in this article is that tares intoxicate. They make you muddied of thinking, muddied of sight, muddied in action. And you are under the influence of this poison weed that if taken too much of it, it can kill you. And this is the danger that we see with tares. And this is the danger that we see of partaking of it and of being it. We have been warned to not be tares and to not have any tares in us, to not have anything that is on par with how the wicked one operates be a part of us. And so we're going to be reading these passages right now, and we're going to see some of the qualities that's spoken of in this article as they are expressed in the book of Matthew. AmarYaH chapter 13, verses 24 through 30. Another parable he put forth to them, saying, now this is Yahusha who's speaking these parables. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the grain had sprouted and produced a crop, then the tares also appeared. So the servants of the owner came and said to him, Sir, did you not sow good seeds in your field? How then does it have tares? He said to them, An enemy has done this. The servants said to him, Do you want us then to go and gather them up? But he said, No, lest while you gather up the tares, you also uproot the wheat with them. Let them both grow together until the harvest, and at the time of harvest I will say to the reapers, First gather the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. All praises to the Most High. So we see so far in this parable that the wheat and the tares are growing up together. And when the servants suggested that they uproot the tares from the wheat, the owner of the field responded and said, No, not so. If you uproot the tares, you'll also uproot the wheat. And the wheat needs to stay planted into the ground so that I can reap a harvest. Let them grow up together. And when it's harvest time, that's when we'll do the separating. And so the wheat then is to be harvested at the end of the growing season, and the tares are to be gathered together and burned, while the wheat are brought into the barn. We're going to talk more about the meaning of these things as we continue on. Continuing. Then Yahusha sent the multitude away and went into the house. And his disciples came to him, saying, Explain to us the parable of the tares of the field. He answered and said to them, He who sows the good seed is the Son of Man, our Mashiach, Yahushua HaMashiach. The field is the world. The good seeds are the sons of the kingdom, but the tares are the sons of the wicked one. The enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the angels. Now, our master here has made it very simple for us to understand what he is saying in this parable by giving this interpretation of what he was saying. He, the Son of Man, sowed good men, those who were obedient, those who were wheat, those who were meant to give the Father a good harvest. They were sown into the world, but the enemy came and sowed his wicked ones in the world. So you should understand that wherever you look, brothers and sisters, there are those who are sons of the wicked one. They're growing up among the wheat. But sometimes it appears as if they themselves are wheat. That is the insidious nature of darnels or tares. They look much like wheat until harvest time. When harvest time comes, it becomes very apparent what is wheat and what is tare. And so in our world right now, the world has wheat and it has tares. And up until this time, it hasn't been obvious which is which. But as we near the time of the harvest, it's becoming increasingly clear what is tare and what is wheat. And at the end of this age, the wheat will be harvested and brought into the barn, which is representative of the kingdom of heaven coming to earth. And the tares are to be gathered together in bundles. They are to be bundled together, meaning like will find like. The wheat will be comfortable among the wheat, and the tares will only be comfortable among other tares. They will find each other, and they will be bundled according to like. Like will find like, and the tares will be bundled together and burned together. They will fall under judgment together, while the wheat will be reaped and harvested into the kingdom together. Hallelujah. So we're going to take a look at the Greek word for tares. In this word, which is plural in nature, it is a noun and it is pronounced zizanion, and it means tares. A darnel, a poisonous ryegrass weed, or a false grain. It is a false grain. Wheat is a real grain, but a tare is a false grain. It is anti-Mashiach. It is anti-Yahuwah. It is anti-Torah. It is anti-truth. It is anti-obedience. It is anti-righteousness. It is anti. It is darkness and not light. It is sin and not good deeds. It is taking and not giving. This is the idea, and this is the tenor of those who are tares in this world. They are wicked to the core. They are not wheat, though they pretend to be wheat. And some of us have been interacting with those who are tares, and we wonder why our interactions with them have been so inconsistent. Sometimes it appears as if they're good to us, but at other times it seems as if they could do us great harm and great danger. Remember, tares in an abundant amount can kill. It's poison. It's poison. There's some people right now in the world who are poisoning the world, and we see the effects of them. We see it every day, and we think to ourselves, why is he doing this? Why is she doing this? It's because they are tares, and tares do as tares do. They are doing what comes naturally for them. And we as wheat must do what comes naturally for us. We must be obedient. We must be in the light. We must seek the Father's face. We must do as we are instructed to do. We must have amunah. We must endure. It also says that tares or darnels, a weed that greatly resembles the wheat until it is ripe. Close examination will also fail to discern the difference until its black grain appears. Now, the grain that the wheat produces is white or light colored. The grain that the tare produces is black, indicative of poison, indicative of darkness and not light. So we have sons of the light in the wheat and sons of darkness in the tares. It says, it is most toxic just before harvest. Its poison causes lethargy, deep sleep, and even death. And if you think about the time that we're in right now, brothers and sisters, we know that we are just near the time of harvest. This is the time when the darnel and the tares are most wicked, are most dangerous, are most harmful. And this is what we're seeing being demonstrated in the world right now. We see them. It is obvious what they are because we see the black seeds on them. We see their darkness. We see their wickedness. We see their evil machinations and their evil attempt to wipe out the wheat in the field so that they can take over the whole field, which is the world. We see what's happening, but Abba has other plans. He has spoken. The wheat will be gathered into his barn, and so it shall be. He has also spoken through his Son that the tares will be gathered together in bundles and burned, and so it shall be. And their evil seed will not be allowed to further be implanted in the soil of the world, further bringing forth that evil and wicked crop. Number 3, it says that tares are indicative of wicked people sown by Hasatan amidst the saints of the Most High, that until harvest have a resemblance of yahliness, but you know them by their fruit. There are too many around us who pretend. They pretend to be righteous when they're anything but. They put on a fake form of yahliness, but they are wicked to the core. And we are in the time now, brothers and sisters, where they cannot hide. There's a song that says, "You can't hide, sinner, you can't hide." And in this time, the sinners, the tares, they can't hide. Abba is exposing them to the light of day. And let's continue. Therefore, as the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so it will be at the end of this age. The Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and those that practice lawlessness, and will cast them into the furnace of fire. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. All praises to the Most High. When the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, it will occur at the end of the age. I submit to you, brothers and sisters, that this occurs at the end of every age. At the end of the age that occurred in 70 AD, we saw this very thing happen. The wheat were gathered out of Jerusalem and they were taken to safety. The tares were gathered together and burned in the great fire in Jerusalem. It happened, it occurred, and it will happen again. We cannot be tares. We were created to be wheat. We cannot be tares. But even among us, there are some who have snuck in, who are tares, who are living among us as if they are wheat, and they are not. May the Most High grant us discernment during this time. We will know them by their fruit. Let us be efficient fruit inspectors. Our Master goes on to say that the Malachim, the angels, will gather out of his kingdom all things that offend. So tares offend. They're the ones who are offending. They're offensive to us because of the stench of wickedness and because of their inability to speak truth, their inability to practice truth, their inability to submit and surrender to the rule over them, their inability to do as they have been instructed to do by the Most High. They are lawless. They will not keep Torah. They will not keep the law of the land. They do what they desire to do. They will be cast into the furnace of fire, where there's wailing and gnashing of teeth. But Abba has something so much better in store for his children, his wheat, who will shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Let those of us who have ears to hear what the Ruach is saying to us at this time. And to bring additional clarity, In AmarYaH chapter 24, verses 29 through 31, we read, "Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory, and he will send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they will gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other." This, brothers and sisters, is the gathering of the wheat. And at the same time, we see the tares being gathered together in bundles, and they will be burned. They will be judged. So as we summarize so far what we have discussed, the wicked tares are plucked out of the world through death and judgment, but the righteous wheat are harvested. They are gathered unto Messiah by way of the Malachim, by way of the angels. So when we are gathered out of Babylon and out of Egypt, the Malachim will play a role in making sure that we reach our destination, that we reach home, that we reach our Master. So what you have on the screen here is an image of a field of wheat that is ripe. It's beautiful, rich, golden colored wheat, ready for harvest. But you also see sown among the field of wheat some tares. And notice, the tares are standing stock still. They're upright. But the wheat, when it is ripe, it bows itself over in humility. It bends its head in reverent obedience unto the Father, as if to say, I am ready to be harvested now. Your work has been completed in me. I am ready to be harvested. But the darnels, the tares, they are proud and arrogant, and they stand among the wheat, bringing attention to themselves, saying, look at me, I am tare. This is what we see in this image. The separation of the wheat and the tares. And what we see regarding wheat and tares, as within, so without. As within, so without. And also, that which is within is also without. Meaning, we have wheat and tare individuals in the world. Those who have been planted by the Most High in the world, and those who have been planted by the wicked one. We also have within us, brothers and sisters, within ourselves, there are some tare seeds that the enemy has come and sown in the good soil of our hearts. So we are wheat. We have wheat seeds that have been planted that the Most High desires to reap an abundant harvest from and through us. But there are also tare seeds that have been planted, and we have aspects of tares within us. We live among them in the world. We also have become like them in some ways, as those seeds have been blown on the breeze and ended up in the gardens of our hearts. And those tare seeds and their offending plants need to be removed. They need to be plucked up from us so that when harvest comes, Abba has a pure harvest without any cross-contamination of tares in his wheat. Now we're going to talk now about the ways in which we see tares in our bodies, in our minds, in our souls, in our experience. We're going to talk about that now. Where do we see tares? In us as individuals. In the world, yes, but also in us. Where do we see them? Character. Character is who you are when no one is looking. The Most High is looking. He's always looking, of course. But character is who you are when nobody's watching. The tares that are present in character present themselves as being unreliable, inconsistent, self-important, and one who does not follow through. The tare in this instance is that person who says, yes, I'm going to do XYZ for you, and then they never do it. I'm going to show up at 10 o'clock, and they never show up. And if they do, they show up late without any explanation. They are unreliable. They are inconsistent. You can't count on them for anything. They do not say what they're going to do. They are not people of their word. Those are tares that affect the character, and they must be plucked up. In what other ways do we see tares manifesting themselves in our lives as individuals? Bad habits. The tares in our habits manifest themselves in many ways. And as you sit before the Father will show you exactly the ways in which tares have infiltrated the garden of your heart. But I've named a few ways here on the screen. Overeating, drinking too much, lazy, thinks about wicked things, destructive things. Their thoughts are not yet converted. They allow wickedness to infuse their thoughts. They place bad and wicked things before their eyes. They're distracted by the entertainments of the world. They allow their eyes to gaze upon things that they're not supposed to see, not supposed to watch, and they allow their bodies to follow suit to satisfy their pleasures. They do AmarYaH and Torah-less deeds. These are the tares that have entered into the lives of those who are supposed to be Yahuwah's wheat. And these things have to be dispensed with because judgment's coming for the tares. We cannot have tares in us. We must be set apart and separate. Tare with tare, wheat with wheat. Time. Another way that tares present themselves in our lives is within the category of time. How do you spend your time? Tares, they waste time. They waste it. They are prayerless, and they gratify the flesh with their time. They spend time reading articles, scrolling through social media, gratifying the flesh, pleasing the flesh, and they don't redeem the time that's been given to them with pursuits that draw them closer to the Most High. But it's just the opposite. This is how tares within us demonstrate and manifest themselves in our lives. And we each have been contaminated in this way. And we need to pull these things out of our lives. And we need to do it while we still have time. Another way that we see tares manifesting themselves in our lives is through how we spend our money. How do you spend your money? Do you waste it? Do you spend it on yourself? Are you a giver? Tares waste money and they don't give. And if they do, they give paltry amounts because they save for themselves so that they can waste their money on their own endeavors and their own pursuits. Perhaps there's debt. Perhaps there's lots of debt. That's how tares show up with regard to our money. Tares also show up in our speech. Sometimes our speech is something that does not glorify or honor the Most High. It doesn't honor our brother. It doesn't honor our sister. And there are things that just should not be said. Perhaps there's just too much talking, too much slandering, too much gossiping, too much conjecture, just too much talking. And there's not enough silence to hear what the Most High Yahuwah is saying. Sometimes the speech honors the Most High, and sometimes it doesn't. It is contrary. It's white today, black tomorrow. Hot today, cold tomorrow. In today, out tomorrow. It's inconsistent. We must allow our tongues to be dedicated to the Most High Yahuwah and nothing else. We have to learn how to speak His words and His words only. Let our words be few. And those words that we do speak, let them be spoken in honor of our Master and in worship of our Father. Another way that we see tares manifesting themselves in the gardens of our lives is in the category and area of surrender. The tares that are present there is disobedience, and they are not fully surrendered to the Most High, nor to the leadership that has been placed over them. Not husband, not boss, not governments, not spiritual leaders, not prophet, not priest, not anything. They do as they see fit. They do what feels right in their own eyes. There's no honor to the king. There's no obedience and submission. It's just not there. And if it is there, it's haphazard at best. These are the tares in our lives that must be plucked up and burned before that great judgment day. So we have been discussing, in part, some of the ways in which the tares show up in our lives. And as you evaluate yourself before the Most High, brothers and sisters, you'll see additional ways in which there are tares in the gardens of our hearts that have to be dealt with. We cannot be wheat and tare. We cannot be hot and cold. We have to choose. We have to choose this day whom we're going to serve. Are we going to be children of the light or children of darkness? And for those of us who have made that choice, and we are surrendering to the Most High as He pulls and allows us to pull these tares and uproot the seeds that are in the guards of our hearts, as we are about Abba's business and doing His work of preparing us for the harvest, we're going to find that there's some separating going on in our minds, our hearts, our lives, as Abba is helping to cleanse us of all the tares that exist, as He's helping us to not be drunken, as He's helping us to be sober-minded, as He's allowing us to not be poisoned with the thoughts and ideologies of the world, as He's causing us to walk sober-minded and obedient before Him. As He's doing these things in our lives, He's also doing something else. There has to be a separation. Tares have to be torn away from us. And we know, as we've read in the scriptures, that at the culmination of this age, tares will be bundled with tares and wheat with wheat. It's happening already, brothers and sisters. If you were to evaluate your life, if you're really about Abba's business, if you're really seeking Him right now, and you're really surrendering to His work in your life right now, you're seeing some separation happening in your life as He separates you from the tare within, but also as He separates you from the tare in your families, in your experiences. There's a separating happening. We're being set apart. And indeed, we were called to be set apart. The very word holy or kadosh means set apart. We were meant to be wheat, not influenced by the tares in this world at all. And so some of you may be experiencing separation in your households. You see that things just aren't the way they used to be. Things just aren't synergistic. There's just some angst and anxiety and things that come up and feels as if you're being pulled, like these people can get along, but these people cannot. So there's anxiety in the household as the tares are being revealed, the tares within the household and the tares within those within the household, as Abba is dealing with those things. So perhaps within the household, there's separation. Abba is also dealing with the tares in our lives and in our relationships. Perhaps in your marriage, there's something happening where you feel as if you're being pulled away from husband or pulled away from wife or pulled away from children. The Most High Yahuwah is revealing the tares within our lives, within our families, within our households. And those who are tares are being bundled together. And those who are wheat are being bundled together. This is happening already. Perhaps you see a separation between you and a longtime friend. You have been friends for a long time, and then all of a sudden, you can't seem to get along. It's as if you speak a different language, and you can't communicate effectively, and you find that you don't have much in common when you used to be best friends. So the tares separation is happening within our friendships, Perhaps you're being separated from your employment. Perhaps Abba pulled you out of your employment in Babylon and is separating and isolating you unto himself. Perhaps he's granting you an opportunity to become self-employed, or perhaps he'll employ you somewhere else, or has employed you somewhere else, or perhaps he's pulled you out of the workforce altogether. He's separating you, perhaps. These are the ways in which we see the Most High separating us from the tares in the world. We also see that the Father is separating us in families, father and son. Father and son, in the relationships that Abba granted to us, for a father to care for his son and for a son to honor his father, we see problems. We see issues that have suddenly arisen in areas where there never used to be trouble. It hasn't been perfect, but you could always get along with one another. And now all of a sudden, there's beef, and there's disrespect, and there's dishonor. Abba is doing the separating. Now, I'm not talking about situations where you won't submit and surrender to the rulership over you. I'm talking about, try as you might, in these relationships, you just see that there's separation happening. You're actually trying to hold them together as the Father is pulling you apart. That's what I'm talking about. And you know when it's Abba doing it, because your desire is to continue to hold on to these relationships, but something's happening where it's beyond your control to do so. We see the same thing happening between mother and daughter. Perhaps you had a wonderful relationship with your mother. Perhaps you and your daughter functioned more as friends than as mother and daughter. And now all of a sudden, there's a disconnect. She's different. She wants to hang with her friends, and she wants to be like those in the world, and you're telling her, no, you have to be Kadash. You have to be set apart. You have to be wheat and not tare. But she's making a decision to go another way, and it's creating anxiety in your relationship, and you find yourself separated from one another, and you can't seem to get along. The tares in this age are revealing what they are, and there are tares present in families. And so some families are being splintered, being split apart, because the tares are going one direction and the wheat is going in another. We also find this split happening, this separation happening within assemblies. Perhaps in your assembly, you've had a split where half of the assembly went one direction and the other half went another direction. You can't seem to get along with certain people within the groups that you have attended for a long time. Abba is doing the separating. And tares will find tares, and wheat will find wheat. And how do you know which category you fall into? You will know them by their fruit. The tares are producing fruit unto unrighteousness and wickedness, disobedience, the lack of surrender, slander, gossip. But the wheat, they are obedient. They are kind. They are gentle. They are generous with their time and with their money. And they keep Torah. They do not engage in Torahless deeds. Perhaps you see separation happening in friendships, long-standing friendships between you and your girlfriend. You've been friends for 20 years, and now all of a sudden, you can't seem to get along. You don't speak the same language. You don't want the same things. And there's separation happening, and you can't understand why. And you're trying to hold it together, but it won't be kept together because tares are being drawn with tares and wheat with wheat. Within your ministry, perhaps Abba has granted you a ministry, a way for him to express his goodness through you. Perhaps it's through speaking or teaching. Perhaps it's on YouTube. But you find that there's been a disconnect for some time, and that the word is landing on deaf ears, and it's just not finding its home the way it did in the past. There's a separating happening. And those who have eyes to see and ears to hear will hear what the Ruach is saying, and they'll be drawn to the ministries that Abba is using in this hour. But for others, there's a separation happening, and Abba's saying, you're done. Speak no longer. You're done. So we see all of these changes. We see separation happening all around us. We see doors being closed. We see gates being erected. We see roads being constructed that lead to private residences, metaphorically speaking. People are picking sides and they're huddling with those who are like they are, even nationality-wise. There's a great separation happening, and this is Abba's work. May we make every effort as these changes are taking place all around us to check ourselves daily to see that we are in Amunah, that we are walking in obedience, and that we are producing the fruit unto righteousness, demonstrating that we are wheat and not tares in disguise. May we be honest with ourselves, and may we exercise discernment. May we understand the times that we're in, and may we make appropriate action before the Father to be pleasing to Him and to be what He has called us to be. We also see changes happening, brothers and sisters, in our finances, as some are being granted finances, and for others, it's just not working out. Ends aren't meeting, and we find ourselves being pulled away from situations that brought in the resources that we need. And right now, Abba is saying, depend on me. I will take care of you. Depend on me. I am your exceeding and great reward. I'm separating you from the sources of resources that you think you need in the world. Come to me and let me be your provider. So, brothers and sisters, the Most High Yahuwah is at work. He is at work in our lives. He is at work in the world. And it feels as if things are falling apart right now because there's so much disunity and disharmony. There's so much division. There's so much separation. That's purposed. Now, the Most High Yahuwah is not the author of confusion, but He will reap His harvest. And in order to do so, He is separating it from the tares, within and without. So don't be surprised that you feel drawn to certain people. Don't be surprised that you feel drawn to certain channels. Don't feel surprised that you feel drawn to certain teachings. Don't feel surprised that you feel drawn away from certain people, certain channels, certain family members. Don't be surprised. Abba is at work, and He will complete His work, and He will gather His wheat into His barn. May we submit and surrender to the work that He is doing in us. May we submit and surrender, and when He begins to pull these things out of our lives, the things that we think we need to define us, marriages, families, jobs, finances, the things that we think that we need to make us who we are or who we have been, when He begins to remove these things from us, because He sees them as tares, let us not push back. Let us accept His will and allow the perfection that He is doing in us to continue. We will be perfected in the image of the Father by way of the Son. It has been spoken, and it must happen. Because if we don't look like the Father, if He can't see Himself reflected in us, we don't have any part of Him. So let us surrender. Let us surrender and become perfect and be perfected. As we have discussed previously, some of us have both wheat and tares in us. We are both wheat and tares, which means we're double-minded, which means we are both hot and cold, which means we are both dark and light. And that can't be. We have to choose which side we're going to fall on. Are we going to be wheat or are we going to be tare? The degree to which we have wheat and tares in us is the degree to which we can expect to experience the judgment of the Most High Yahuwah. For some of us, there are few stalks of tares in our wheat field, and Abba is working in us to pull those out, and so that the field will be golden, only wheat. Others of us have a few smattering of wheat among the tares, as you can see in this image. There are mostly tares here with a few smattering of wheat. This is what we should not be. As I said before, we must be hot or we must be cold. Being lukewarm gets us spewed out of the mouth of the Master. We cannot be this. We cannot. So, brothers and sisters, if the Most High Yahuwah is at work in your life, if He's removing things, people, places, things from you, from your experience right now, things that you think you need, things that you want, and you know Abba is at work in your life, and He's explaining to you what He's doing, that He's purifying you and perfecting you, be grateful. Be very, very grateful that Abba is at work in your life, in your home, in the garden of your heart. Be grateful that He is at work. Even though separation's taking place, and these separations can be painful. It could be through death. It could be through divorce. It could be through being fired or relocating. It could be through friendships falling away. It could be through a number of ways, but separation is happening. And as Abba brings His separation into our lives, may we be grateful. But if you don't hear Him, if you don't hear Him right now, if you don't hear Him speaking to you, if you don't see Him at work in your life, if you can't see Him on the periphery or in the center of your life at work, doing His work, separating you, isolating you, telling you what you need to do and where you need to go, if all you hear is the silence of the Most High Yahuwah, and the silence is deafening, you hear crickets, and the silence is deafening, you should be concerned. You should be concerned. At the very least, you should ask the Father, am I in the midst of a test? Are you testing me right now? Because when the test commences, the teacher is silent. And so perhaps the Most High is silent because you're in the midst of a test. And so in that instance, ask the Father to help you to endure the test and to come out victorious. But if you're not in the middle of a test, then perhaps one is coming soon. And perhaps that's why you're experiencing silence from the Most High Yahuwah. Ask Him. And if you really seek His face, He will grant you the answers that you need in order to have shalom in your heart. But if you're not in the middle of a trial or a test, and there's not one on the horizon that's coming your way, you need to ask yourself serious questions as to why Yahuwah is so silent. Because Yahuwah is silent when there's a test that's being taken by His children, His students. When we're being tried and tested, and we need to decide whether or not we're going to do things Yahuwah's way or our way, He is often silent. But He is often also silent just before judgment comes. Before judgment commences, oftentimes, Yahuwah is silent. Are you on the verge of being judged because you contain so many tares within yourself that the tares are being bundled together in you? And Abba has to make a decision. And whatever He categorizes you to be, He will bundle you together with that group. And you will either fall under His judgment or you will be gathered together with those who please Him. We read in Micah chapter 8, hear this, you who swallow up the needy and make the poor of the land fail, saying, when will the new moon be passed, that we may sell grain, and the Sabbath, that we may trade wheat? making the ephah small and the shekel large, falsifying the scales by deceit. We give people, for example, a pound of flour, but we really don't give them a pound. We give them 3/4 of a pound and charge them for a pound. That's what the scripture is saying. That we may buy the poor for silver and the needy for a pair of sandals, even selling the bad wheat. The wheat that should not be being sold is being sold for profit. Yahuwah has sworn by the pride of Yaakov, surely I will never forget any of their works. So if we are tares, and we have many, many tares within us, Abba is saying, I will not forget your works. Shall the land not tremble for this, and everyone mourn who dwells in it? All of it shall swell like the river, heave and subside like the river of Mitzrayim. And it shall come to pass in that day, says Yahuwah Elohim, that I will make the sun go down at noon, and I will darken the earth in broad daylight. I will turn your feasts into mourning, all your songs into lamentation. I will bring sackcloth on every waist and baldness on every head. The Most High Yahuwah is talking to his people here. Now, that doesn't mean that this prophecy can't apply to the Gentiles at some future time, but here he's talking to his people. Okay? So when the darkness comes, will you be tare or will you be wheat? Continuing. I will make it like mourning for an only son, and its end like a bitter day. Behold, the days are coming, says Yahuwah Elohim, that I will send a famine on the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of Yahuwah. They shall wander from sea to sea, and from north to east. They shall run to and fro, seeking the word of Yahuwah, but shall not find it. In that day, the fair virgins and strong young men shall faint from thirst. There is a famine for the word of Yahuwah coming, brothers and sisters. It's coming because only the wheat deserve to hear the words of the Most High Yahuwah. And he has been broadcasting his word over these airwaves. And the wheat and the tares have been receiving them. But the Father is drawing a distinction that only his people will be able to hear his word and receive guidance and instruction in the times that are coming. In the same way that Yahusha only gave interpretation of the parables to those who were his lamudim, his disciples, the rest of the people had no clue what he was talking about. There's a famine coming to the land, a famine for the words of the Most High Yahuwah. Blessed is the man who trusts in Yahuwah and whose hope is in Yahuwah. For he shall be like a tree planted by the waters, which spreads its roots out by the river, and will not fear when heat comes. But its leaf will be green, and will not be anxious in the year of drought, nor will cease from yielding fruit. The heart is deceitful above all things, and desperately wicked, and who can know it? I, Yahuwah, search the heart, I test the mind, even to give every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his doings. And that is AmarYaH, chapter 17, verses 7 through 9. The Most High will reward us according to the cleanness or dirtiness of our hands. And the judgment is coming, brothers and sisters. It's coming. And when it falls upon the earth, it's coming to afflict the tares. Hebrew or not, it will afflict the tares. So don't be tare, be wheat. We see the differences between the ripened wheat and the ripened tares. The ripened wheat, when it is ripe and ready to be harvested by the Most High, it bows its head in worshipful surrender, ready to be cut, to be bundled, and to be taken where it cannot take itself. It produces seeds that are white or very light colored, which is indicative of light, indicative of obedience, indicative of the presence of the Most High Yahuwah. But the darnel, the tares, when they are ready to be harvested, their heads remain erect in pride. That is a key character trait of the tares. Pride. Pride. Self-serving. Contempt for others. Disrespect. Disdain. You can't tell me anything. They don't want to hear it. And so they don't have ears to hear, nor a heart to perceive what Abba is saying in this hour. And so there's a famine coming, a famine for the words of the Most High Yahuwah. And their dark poisonous seeds are deadly to others who may partake of them. They whisper in the ears of others, spreading their dark poisonous seeds of untruth. There's a separation coming, and it must needs be. It must happen. The Most High Yahuwah is gathering his wheat. He's harvesting his wheat. They're ready. Their heads are bowed. They're golden. They're ready to be harvested and ready to be brought into the kingdom. And so they are out in the field of the world, heads bowed, producing good fruit unto the Father, ready to be taken home, ready to receive the reward, ready to enter into Yahuwah's barn, which is the kingdom of Yahuwah come to earth. But the tares, their end is to be burned. They will be bundled together as they're being judged by the Most High. So the time is now, brothers and sisters. The time is now to surrender to the Most High Yahuwah. Whatever you have in you, whatever we have in us that is tare, it has to be extinguished. It has to be uprooted and pulled out now while there is time. So that when our redemption draws nigh and arrives on the scene, Hasatan has nothing in us. No darnel seeds, no tare seeds, no tare plants standing erect and tall and proud in us. We can't be partakers of righteousness and unrighteousness at the same time. Will we allow ourselves to be chastened by the Most High, to be corrected by Him, to be taken to task, so that we might be refined and purified, so that the excess tares that are present within us might be removed? Will we submit and surrender to Yahuwah's chastening of us? Or will we rebel? But remember this, whom Yahuwah loveth, he chasteneth, and scourges every son whom he receives. So, if you're going through some things right now, if Abba is at work in your life right now, if he's separating you from people, places, and things, and situations and circumstances right now, count yourself baruched. Count yourself blessed that the Father is at work in your life, removing the residual tares from your mind, heart, body, and soul, so that you might be ready to be harvested as pure wheat unto him. But if he's silent in your life, if you hear nothing, you see nothing, you're able to sin willfully, and you're not being chastened, you're able to get away with everything, you should be afraid. You should be very afraid. Because after silence comes judgment. Hasun, Revelation chapter 8. When he, Yahusha, opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. Silence before judgment. And I saw the 7 angels who stand before Yahuwah, and to them were given 7 trumpets. Skipping to verse 5. Then the Malach, the angel, took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and threw it to the earth. And there were noises, thunderings, lightnings, and an earthquake. So the 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets, which are trumpets of judgment, prepared themselves to sound. First silence, then judgment. May we judge ourselves so that we may not fall in Yahuwah's judgment. So I want to thank you, brothers and sisters, for joining me once again on the channel and for another session of our Turah Chunk. All praises to the Most High, all esteem to our Master, Yahusha, our soon-coming King. Hallelujah. AmarYaH. AmarYaH. I want to say, brothers and sisters, that as the Most High is separating people from people, places, and things, so is He separating me from this platform. This is my last video that I will be uploading onto YouTube. I will continue in ministry, in private, with those whom the Father has allowed to join together with us in the ministry. But this is the last video that I will upload. I pray that you have learned something on this channel. I pray that AmarYaH has used it for His purposes. But now it is time for me to step away as I am being separated from this platform. I give Him thanks and praise for all that He has done in and through me. And I pray that the ways in which I have failed Him, He will forgive. And the ways in which His word has gone forth and produced fruit, that it would continue to produce fruit. The videos on the channel will remain, and so they will be available for those who desire to watch them and desire to glean whatever Abba has said through them. But there's a silence coming, a famine coming, for the hearing of the Most High's words. And after the silence, judgment. Thank you to all of you who have subscribed, who have watched, who have been faithful, who have stuck with me from the beginning as the Most High grew this channel. All praises to the Most High for the work that He has done here. May He be esteemed and worshipped forever. May the Most High Yahuwah Baruch and keep you, brothers and sisters, bless and keep you. May He make His face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May He lift up His countenance upon you and grant you shalom, peace in every area. And may you search your heart today. May you honestly evaluate, are you wheat or are you tare? And if you are wheat, how many tare seeds and plants do you have still implanted in the garden of your heart? Serious self-reflection and introspection has to take place because the silence has descended and judgment is at the doors. Until we meet on the other side, shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom, shalom.